The mysterious message. Ethan Carter yawned as he stretched his arms and blinked at the dim glow of his laptop screen. It was past midnight, and he had been watching random videos, lost in the endless scroll of the internet. His small apartment was quiet, except for the soft hum of the fridge and the occasional sound of traffic outside. Just as he was about to close his laptop and go to bed, something strange happened. His screen flickered. The webpage he was on disappeared, replaced by a black background with glowing green text. Attention, human. My alien Puppies will arrive soon. Take good care of them, or else. Ethan frowned. What the hell is this? It had to be a prank. A virus, maybe. He reached for his mouse to close the message, but the cursor wouldn't move. He tried to shut the laptop, but the screen remained on. His heart pounded. The text changed. Delivery in 24 hours. A soft beep came from his phone. He picked it up. His phone screen showed the same message. His breath caught in his throat. How was this happening? He tried restarting his devices, but nothing worked. The message kept reappearing, no matter what he did. Suddenly, his smart home assistant, usually a robotic, friendly voice, spoke in a deep, distorted tone. Ethan Carter, prepare for arrival. The lights flickered. The air in the room felt heavier, charged with static. Ethan's stomach twisted. This was no ordinary glitch. Someone, or something, was trying to communicate with him. He took a deep breath. Okay, this is probably some elaborate joke, he muttered to himself. Maybe hackers messing around. Yeah, that makes sense. He convinced himself it was nothing serious. But deep inside, a strange feeling crept into his mind. It was the same feeling he had when walking alone at night, sensing someone was watching him. Deciding he was too tired for this nonsense, Ethan slammed his laptop shut and crawled into bed. I'll deal with it in the morning, he mumbled. The next day, Ethan woke up to the sound of his phone buzzing. He groggily reached for it and saw a notification. 24 hours remaining. Delivery in progress. A shiver ran down his spine. He rushed to his laptop and turned it on. The screen instantly displayed the same ominous text, along with a new detail. Coordinates Lockheed. Destination: Ethan Carter's residency. Ethan's mouth went dry. This wasn't a virus. It wasn't a prank. Whatever was coming, it was coming for him. His heart pounded as he grabbed his phone and searched for any strange news. UFO sightings. Mysterious packages. Nothing. Everything seemed normal. Maybe it was just a scam. Maybe someone was trying to mess with him. Then his phone rang. The number was unknown. His hands trembled as he answered. Hello. There was silence on the other end. Then a low, robotic voice spoke. Human, do not fail this task. They are very important. Ethan's skin prickled. Who are you? What's going on? The voice ignored his question. Delivery begins soon. Prepare. The call ended. Ethan dropped his phone. His pulse pounded in his ears. This couldn't be real. It shouldn't be real. He looked around his small apartment. The same dull walls, the messy desk, the fridge covered in old takeout menus. Everything looked normal. But deep inside, he knew something was coming. And whatever it was, he had no choice but to face it. The unexpected delivery. Ethan Carter had barely slept. Every time he closed his eyes, the words DLIVRI in progress flashed in his mind. He had tried to ignore it, but how could he? The message wasn't just on his laptop. It was on his phone, his tablet, even his smart TV. No matter how many times he restarted or reset his devices, the message wouldn't disappear. Now, as the sun rose outside his apartment window, Ethan sat on his couch, his eyes glued to his phone screen. The countdown had changed. Delivery in 10 minutes. His stomach twisted. Something was really coming. He took a deep breath. Maybe it was just some weird internet prank. Maybe some delivery guy would show up with a box labeled Alien Puppies and a hidden camera crew would pop out, laughing at his confusion. Yeah, that had to be it. Still, just in case, he checked his door's peephole. The hallway outside was empty. No delivery truck. No mysterious visitors. Just the quiet stillness of a normal morning. Then the lights flickered. A low hum filled the air. It wasn't coming from his phone, his laptop, or even outside. It was coming from everywhere. The floor vibrated slightly beneath his feet. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. The humming grew louder. The air in his apartment felt heavier, charged with static electricity. The tiny hairs on his arms stood on end. Then, bang! The entire room shook as a blinding flash of blue light erupted in the center of his living room. Ethan stumbled back, shielding his eyes. His ears rang. The air smelled strange, like metal and something not of this world. And then, a pod appeared. It sat in the middle of his living room, floating a few inches above the ground. It was smooth and black, with glowing blue symbols pulsating across its surface. It looked otherworldly, like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. Ethan's heart pounded. This wasn't a prank. This wasn't a scam. This was real. The pod hissed, releasing a jet of cold mist. A line of light traced down the middle, and then it opened. Inside were 3 creatures. At first, Ethan wasn't sure what he was looking at. They were small, about the size of puppies, but they weren't like anything he had ever seen before. They had soft, fluffy fur, a mix of deep purple and shimmering silver. They had 6 legs, each ending in tiny, rounded paws. Their eyes were large, glowing a bright, electric blue. Tiny, translucent wings fluttered on their backs, though they didn't seem capable of flying. And then, as Ethan stared at them in shock, one of the creatures yawned. Its mouth stretched wider than should have been possible, revealing 2 rows of razor-sharp, glowing teeth. Ethan's stomach dropped. The creature blinked at him. Then, in a voice that sounded almost robotic, it spoke. Human detected. Caretaker confirmed. Ethan's mind shut down. He blinked. What? The creature blinked back. Then, before he could react, the 3 creatures leaped out of the pod. Chaos began. One jumped onto his couch, its paws sinking into the cushions. The moment it touched the fabric, the couch hovered 3 feet off the ground. Ethan's jaw dropped. Hey. No. Get down from there. The second creature scurried toward his fridge. It placed a paw against the door, which instantly opened on its own. The creature sniffed a can of soda, then casually zapped it with a tiny burst of blue energy. The can melted on the spot. Ethan gasped. What the hell are you doing? The third creature stared up at him, tilting its head. Then, without warning, it levitated off the ground, floated up to his face, and booped him on the nose. A shock of electricity ran through Ethan's body. His hair stood on end. The creature purred. Ethan staggered back, heart racing. Oh, my God. He turned to the floating couch, to the melted soda can, to the creatures watching him with innocent, glowing eyes. What the hell had just happened? He opened his mouth to speak. VZZZC. His phone vibrated in his pocket. He scrambled to grab it. A new message had appeared. Warning. FALURE to CAREVFOR PUPPYS. Whale RESULT in termination. Ethan felt his blood turn to ice. His hands shook as he scrolled down. Do not attempt to abandon. Do not attempt to harm. Do not attempt to leave. And at the bottom of the message, one last line appeared. Consequences YLBCVER. Ethan swallowed hard. His heart raced. His mind screamed. He was trapped. And now he had 3 alien creatures to take care of. Somehow, he had a feeling his life would never be the same again. Alien puppies, big problems. Ethan Carter paced across his small apartment, running a hand through his already messy hair. He had handled stressful situations before. Missed deadlines, broken appliances, even that one time his car battery died in the middle of nowhere. But this, 3 floating, energy-zapping, 6-legged alien puppies that had just landed in his living room. Yeah, this was way above his pay grade. The creatures were still running wild, completely unaware of the chaos they were causing. One of them, whom Ethan had mentally named Zap, was bouncing off the walls. Literally, every time it leaked against a surface, it would release a tiny burst of energy, propelling itself in another direction. It had already knocked over a lamp, 2 picture frames, and his Wi-Fi router. Another one, Hover, was sitting on the couch, looking very proud of itself as it made the furniture float 2 feet off the ground. Ethan had tried to push it back down, but the moment he got close, Hover would tilt its head, blink its glowing blue eyes, and make the couch rise even higher. The last one, Melt, was the most concerning. It had taken an interest in his kitchen. The fridge, already half melted. The microwave, reduced to a puddle of steaming metal. Ethan's stomach twisted. This isn't happening. This isn't happening. His phone vibrated. Another message. Reminder. FALURE2CARE4 PUPPIES. Whale RESULT in termination. Ethan let out a sharp breath. Yeah, I got it. He snapped at the phone, as if the mysterious sender could hear him. The alien puppies froze. All 3 of them turned their heads toward him, their glowing eyes locking onto his face. Ethan's breath hitched. For a moment, everything was still. Then, boom! A burst of energy exploded from Zap's tiny body, sending Ethan flying backward. He crashed into his bookshelf, sending books tumbling onto his head. Ow! What the hell was that? He groaned, rubbing his shoulder. The puppies giggled, or at least they made a sound very similar to laughter. A series of high-pitched, warbling chirps that made Ethan's skin crawl. Oh, so you think this is funny? He grumbled, pushing himself up. Hover floated toward him, wagging its tail. Ethan took a cautious step back. No more weird tricks, okay? Just sit down or something. The alien puppy tilted its head. Then, in a moment of absolute terror, it opened its mouth and spoke. Sit down. Ethan froze. His heart stopped. No way. Did you just talk? The puppy blinked. Then, in a robotic, choppy voice, it repeated. Sight. Down. Ethan took a step back. Oh no. No. You guys can't talk, can you? Zap bounced over. Talk. Yes. Human. Talk. Ethan's stomach dropped. Melt trotted forward. Talk. Human. Food. Ethan stared. He was losing his mind. That was the only explanation. He had officially lost his mind. Just then. Knock. Ethan jumped. Someone was at the door. A voice followed. Carter. Open up. I swear to God. If you don't shut off whatever sci-fi experiment you're running in there, I'm calling the cops. His neighbor. Ethan's eyes went wide. Oh crap. He ran toward the puppies. Shh. No noise. Stay here. Be quiet. Zap wagged its tail. Quiet? Yes. Quiet. No talking. No zapping things. No cake, no cakey knock. Carter, I know you're in there. Ethan sucked in a deep breath. He had to act normal. He turned to the puppies. You 3, stay. Hover floated upside down. Stay. Ethan groaned. I don't get paid enough for this. He rushed to the door and cracked it open. Hey, Todd. What's up? Todd, his next-door neighbor, was a grumpy, middle-aged guy who had zero patience for noise. His arms were crossed, and his eyebrow twitched. You tell me what's up, Carter. It sounds like you've got a jet engine in there. And what was that explosion? You better not be building some sci-fi nonsense in your apartment. Ethan let out an awkward laugh. Faft. What? Sci-fi nonsense? No way. That's just my vacuum. Todd squinted. Your vacuum? Yep. Ethan nodded quickly. New model. Very loud. A small warbling noise came from behind him. Ethan's stomach dropped. Todd frowned. What was that? Ethan laughed too quickly. That? Oh, that's just bark. Todd's eyes widened. You have a dog. Ethan froze. The alien puppies had just barked, like actual Earth puppies. Zap popped its tiny head around the doorframe. Todd's eyes landed on the six-legged, glowing-eyed creature. His face paled. What the hell is that? Ethan panicked. Oh, that's He grabbed Zap and held him up. A rare breed. Totally normal Earth dog. Very expensive. Very exotic. Got him from Russia. Zap wagged its tail. Todd blinked. His face twisted in suspicion. Then, Hover suddenly floated into the air behind Ethan. Todd's jaw dropped. Your dog is flying, Carter. Ethan slammed the door in his face. This was going to be a problem. From behind the door, Todd's muffled voice shouted, I'm calling the COPs. Ethan groaned, pressing his forehead against the door. The alien puppies chirped happily. Ethan muttered under his breath, I'm so dead. The alien warning. Ethan Carter was officially losing it. His apartment was in shambles. His microwave was a puddle. His couch was still floating. And his neighbor Todd was threatening to call the cops. Oh, and let's not forget the fact that 3 glowing, 6-legged alien puppies were now calling him their caretaker. He paced back and forth, rubbing his temples. This is bad. This is really bad. The alien puppies watched him curiously. Hover was still floating midair, wagging its tail. Zap had started biting the corner of his coffee table, tiny sparks of electricity crackling from its teeth. Melt was now investigating his television, tilting its head as if trying to figure out what it was. Ethan stopped pacing and pointed at them. No more powers. No floating. No zapping. No melting. Just sit still. Zap immediately launched itself across the room, bouncing off a wall with a loud bzzzt. Ethan facepalmed. I swear I'm gonna have a heart attack. And then his phone rang. Ethan's stomach dropped. The screen flashed. Unknown caller. The last time he answered, he got a creepy robotic voice warning him about these puppies. Now, with Todd on the verge of calling the police, his apartment looking like a sci-fi war zone, and 3 superpowered furballs running wild. He did not need more problems. But something inside him said he had to answer. Hands shaking, he put the phone to his ear. Hello. Silence. Then, human. UAV made seat. Ethan flinched. The voice was deep, distorted, almost mechanical. Yeah. I noticed, he muttered, eyeing Zap as it tried to chew through his TV remote. You must protect them. Do not fail. Ethan groaned. Protect them. From what? They're the ones destroying my apartment. You do not understand. Their presence on your planet is UNAUV. Alright. There are others searching for them. Ethan's breath caught. Wait, others. Who? What are you talking about? Before the voice could answer, a loud boom shook the building. Ethan nearly dropped his phone. What the hell was that? He ran to the window and froze. Outside, the sky had turned dark. A massive swirling storm cloud had formed above the city. But it wasn't just a regular storm. No thunder, no lightning. The air felt different. Heavy. Wrong. Then he saw it. A shadow in the sky. Something was descending through the clouds. Not a plane. Not a helicopter. Something else. It was smooth, black, and massive, gliding silently toward the city skyline. A ship. A spaceship. Ethan's blood ran cold. "They are here." The voice on the phone sounded urgent. Ethan backed away from the window. Who is they? The puppies suddenly stiffened. Their playful energy vanished. Zap growled. Melt's fur bristled. Hover let out a soft, eerie whine. They were scared. And that terrified Ethan even more. The voice on the phone spoke again. "If they find the puppies, your planet will be at risk." Ethan felt like his brain was melting. What do you mean? Who's coming? Why do they want the puppies? Before the voice could reply, his front door exploded. A shockwave blasted through the apartment, throwing Ethan off his feet. His ears rang. Smoke and debris filled the air. And through the haze, silhouettes appeared. Tall, thin, unnaturally smooth. Their bodies were dark, featureless, like liquid shadows standing upright. Their eyes, if they even had eyes, glowed a dull, menacing red. The puppies huddled together, trembling. Ethan's heart pounded so hard it hurt. The tallest shadow figure stepped forward. "The HFYs must be returned." Ethan's breath caught in his throat. Heirs? His brain struggled to process what was happening. He was trapped in his destroyed apartment, surrounded by shadowy alien beings demanding the puppies. And now, apparently, they weren't just puppies. They were royalty. Melt let out a low, warbling whimper. The shadow creatures advanced. Ethan had no weapons, no way to fight back. The voice on the phone crackled through the speaker one last time. "Human. Choose. Fight or surrender." Ethan's hands clenched into fists. He had no idea what the hell was going on. But one thing was clear. He wasn't letting anyone take these puppies. Not without a fight. Government versus puppies versus Ethan. Ethan Carter had been in bad situations before. Once, he had nearly gotten fired for mixing up two emails. One meant for his boss, the other for his friend, complaining about how boring work was. Another time, he had locked himself out of his own apartment and had to bribe his landlord with a box of donuts just to let him back in. But this was a whole new level of bad. His apartment was in ruins. His door had been blown open. A group of tall, shadowy alien figures were standing in his living room, demanding he hand over the puppies. And now, the military had just arrived. It started with a low rumble in the distance. Then came the roar of helicopters. The unmistakable screech of high-tech drones filled the air, and Ethan could hear the sound of heavy boots thudding against the pavement outside. From his shattered doorway, he saw it. Black SUVs, armored trucks, soldiers in full tactical gear. The U.S. government had arrived. Ethan barely had time to react before a booming voice rang out from the hallway. "Federal authorities, stand down and remain where you are." Ethan spun around just in time to see a group of heavily armed soldiers in black uniforms storm into his apartment, their weapons raised. For a moment, there was complete silence. The soldiers had their guns aimed at the shadow creatures. The shadow creatures turned toward the soldiers. The alien puppies huddled close together, glowing softly. Ethan stood in the middle of it all, hands up. And then, all hell broke loose. In the apartment. The first shot came from the military. A soldier shouted, "Open fire." A storm of gunfire erupted, bullets flying toward the shadow creatures. But instead of going down, the creatures did something horrifying. They absorbed the bullets. The dark, liquid-like texture of their bodies, swallowed the gunfire like a sponge, soaking up water. The bullets disappeared, and the shadows grew larger. One of the soldiers cursed. "What the hell?" Then the shadows struck back. A pulse of dark energy exploded from the tallest figure, sending the soldiers flying backward. Their guns melted on impact. Ethan ducked, covering his head as furniture was blown apart. The puppies yelped, and that's when they fought back. The Puppies had an unleashed their power. Zap launched into the air, his tiny body crackling with blue electricity. He zipped across the room like a living lightning bolt and blasted one of the shadow creatures. The creature shrieked. Hover rose off the ground, its tiny wings vibrating. Suddenly, the entire floor of the apartment lifted, sending soldiers and aliens tumbling. Melt's fur pulsed with red energy. It let out a soft, warbling growl, then fired a beam of heat that sliced through the air like a laser. Ethan's jaw dropped. Holy crap! They're actually fighting back. A soldier scrambled to his feet, shouting into his radio. "HQ, we have hostiles. I repeat, we have unknown hostiles engaging." The military had no idea who the real enemy was. Were they fighting the shadow creatures? The puppies? Or Ethan himself? Ethan had no idea either. All he knew was that he needed to get out. The escape plan. His window. It was his only option. He grabbed a chair and smashed it against the glass. The window shattered, sending shards tumbling to the street below. Ethan turned to the puppies. "Come on. We have to go." They hesitated. Zap's electric eyes darted between Ethan and the shadow creatures. Hover floated uncertainly. Melt let out a soft whimper. They didn't want to leave him. Ethan clenched his fists. "I don't care if you're space royalty. I don't care if you have magic superpowers. I'm not letting these guys take you." The puppies stared at him. And then, they leaped toward him. Ethan caught them in his arms. His body tingled with raw energy. Then, he jumped. The fall, and TA rescue. For a terrifying second, he was weightless. The city blurred past him as he fell toward the streets below. He braced for impact, but it never came. Hover's glowing energy surrounded them, slowing their descent. They landed softly, Ethan hitting the pavement with a light thud instead of a bone-shattering crash. He gasped for air, still clutching the puppies. Okay, that worked. Above him, his apartment was a battlefield. The shadow creatures were still fighting the soldiers. The sky was still dark, swirling with alien energy. And then, the spaceship above the city moved. It had been hovering in place all this time, but now it began to descend. Ethan's phone buzzed again. He pulled it out, his hands still shaking. A final message appeared on the screen. "Run, human. They can't know who you already know." Ethan's blood turned to ice. The military, the shadow creatures, the ship in the sky, everyone was coming for him. And if he didn't run, the entire world might be in danger. The truth about the puppies. Ethan Carter had never been much of a runner. But right now, he was sprinting like his life depended on it. Because it did. Behind him, his apartment was a war zone. The military was fighting the shadow creatures. The puppies had revealed their insane powers. And worst of all, a massive alien spaceship was descending toward the city. Ethan gritted his teeth, clutching the puppies in his arms as he weaved through the back alleys, his lungs burning. He had no idea where he was going. He just knew he had to run. Zap wiggled in his arms. "Human. Fast." Ethan huffed. "Yeah. Well, I'd rather be fast than dead, okay." Hover floated slightly, helping to ease their weight. Melt nuzzled against Ethan's chest, making a soft, warbling sound. And then, Ethan's phone rang. Another unknown caller. He almost ignored it, but something told him this was important. He skidded into an alley, ducking behind a dumpster, and hit answer. A familiar, robotic voice crackled through. "Human, you have less time than XPCT." Ethan's fingers tightened around the phone. "Who the hell are you? What is happening? What do they want? What are these things?" For the first time, the voice paused. Then, "They are royalty." Ethan's heart stopped. "What?" The voice continued, calm but urgent. "You have been interested with the children of the HZYRATHIN Empire. The future heirs to the most powerful race in the galaxy." Ethan stared at the glowing puppies in his arms. Zap blinked. Royalty. Hover tilted its head. Hairs. Melt just yawned. Ethan shook his head wildly. No. That doesn't make sense. You're telling me that these little chaos gremlins are alien princes? Yes. Ethan let out a hysterical laugh. Oh, great. That's just great. And now I have what? The galactic version of bounty hunters chasing me because I accidentally adopted space royalty. The voice was silent. Ethan's stomach twisted. Wait. That's actually what's happening, isn't it? Correct. Ethan groaned, rubbing his forehead. He was so screwed. The voice continued. The shadow entities are assassins, hired to eliminate the royal bloodline for the way they can take the throne. Ethan's blood ran cold. He looked down at the puppies. Zap let out a tiny chirp. Hover's ears flattened. Melt shivered. They weren't just running from capture. They were running for their lives. Ethan took a shaky breath. Okay, so what do I do? How do I get them out of here? The voice's response was instant. You must reach the rendezvous point. A ship awaits outside the city. It can return the HEIRs to their people. Ethan nodded quickly. Okay, fine. Where is it? The voice hesitated. Then it said something that made Ethan's heart sink. The military HAs ALREAD FFOUNDIT. The Uro AD below Siki. Ethan's head snapped up. In the distance, he could hear the sound of sirens. Crap. He peered out from the alleyway. Down the street, a military checkpoint had been set up. Armored vehicles. Soldiers with assault rifles. Drones scanning the area. They were blocking the way out of the city. And that meant they were blocking his only chance to save the puppies. Ethan's hands clenched into fists. He turned to the puppies. Okay, guys. Here's the deal. That ship. It's our ticket out of here. But those guys. He nodded toward the soldiers. They'll shoot first and ask questions never. We need a way past them. Zap's tail wagged. Boom? Ethan blanched. No boom. We need something stealthier. Melt blinked. Then, to Ethan's horror, it shape-shifted. Its entire body glowed for a moment, then shifted into a perfect copy of Ethan himself. Ethan's jaw dropped. You can do K8. The melt copy smiled at him. Human. Ethan ran a hand down his face. Okay. New plan. The infiltration. With Melt disguised as him, Ethan put on a hoodie and pulled the hood low over his face. He walked toward the checkpoint, Melt following right beside him, looking identical to him. As expected, the moment they got close. Hey, you. A soldier aimed his rifle at them. More guns followed. Ethan kept his head down. Me? The soldier frowned. Step forward. Slowly. Ethan gulped. The real Ethan took a step back. The fake Ethan, Melt, took a step forward. The soldier narrowed his eyes. Are you Ethan Carter? Melt grinned. Yes. The soldier hesitated. Where are the aliens? Melt gave the biggest, dumbest smile imaginable. No aliens. The soldiers glanced at each other. And then, Hover, still invisible, lifted one of the military's trucks into the air. HFYs. The soldiers panicked. Alarms blared. The checkpoint turned into pure disorder. Ethan grabbed Zap and Hover. Now, the puppies clung to him as he dashed through the chaos. Melt, still disguised as him, waved cheerfully at the soldiers before disappearing into the crowd. And just like that, Ethan broke through the blockade. The final race. Ahead, in an open field beyond the city, he saw it. A sleek silver spaceship. Its doors were open. The engines hummed. It was waiting for them. Ethan ran faster than he ever had before. The sirens behind him grew louder. The alien assassins had spotted him again. The military had sent drones after him. The ship's ramp was right there. And just as he reached it, a dark, swirling force wrapped around his ankle. One of the shadow creatures had caught him. Ethan screamed. The puppies screeched. The assassin pulled him backward, dragging him away from the ship. Ethan fought desperately. No, let me go. Zap burst into blinding light. Hover released a shockwave. Melt shed its disguise and unleashed a fiery blast. The shadow creature shrieked. And for the first time, it let go. Ethan didn't hesitate. He lunged forward, diving onto the ship's ramp. The doors slammed shut behind him. The engines roared. And then, they took off. The planet fell away beneath them. The stars stretched out ahead. Ethan collapsed onto the floor, gasping for air. And for the first time since this all began, they were safe. The final decision. Ethan Carter lay on the cold metallic floor of the spaceship, his chest heaving, his heart racing. He had just barely escaped. The military had almost captured him. The shadow assassins had nearly dragged him away. The alien puppies had used every ounce of their power to fight back. But now, they were finally safe. Or so he thought. Because the moment Ethan sat up, blinking at the sleek control panels and glowing alien symbols inside the ship, a hologram appeared in front of him, and standing in the projection was the largest, most terrifying alien he had ever seen. The Emperor of ZYRAT. The figure was towering, broad-shouldered, and covered in intricate silver armor. His face was hidden behind a deep blue mask, but his eyes glowed like burning suns. A long royal cape billowed behind him, and when he spoke, his voice shook the entire ship. "Who are you, human?" Ethan's mouth went dry. He scrambled to his feet. Hi. My name is Ethan. Ethan Carter. And, these guys kind of just landed in my apartment." Zap, Hover, and Melt peered at the hologram, wagging their tails. The Emperor stared. Then, in a voice that sounded half amused, half deadly serious, he said, "You, a mere human, have saved the royal hairs of Zirath." Ethan held up his hands. "Whoa, let's be clear. I didn't exactly have a choice. They just appeared in my living room. Next thing I know, I've got assassins trying to kill me, and the government chasing me across the city." The Emperor tilted his head. "And yet, you did not abandon them." Ethan paused. He looked at the three puppies, now huddled close to him, looking up with wide, glowing eyes. He sighed. Yeah, I wasn't gonna let anyone hurt them." The Emperor was silent for a long time. Then he raised a hand. A portal of light flickered open in front of Ethan. Through it, Ethan could see a throne room. It was massive, filled with towering golden statues and glowing blue symbols along the walls. At the far end stood a throne carved from pure stardust, surrounded by alien guards in sleek silver armor. Ethan stared. The Emperor's voice boomed again. "Step forward, human." Ethan gulped. Step forward where?" The Emperor's glowing eyes locked onto him. "You will be rewarded for your service." Ethan hesitated. What kind of reward? The Emperor's voice rumbled. "The life beyond your imagination. Riches, power, knowledge." You will never need to worry to earn to your path take planet again. Ethan blinked. Wait. Hold up. You're saying I can't go home? The Emperor tilted his head. Why would you go VNTTO? Your world is small. Insignificant. UAAVCEN 8G MPC of DKK greater UNIVRC. UAVPROV and yourself worthy. Ethan swallowed hard. He looked at the portal. Then he looked at the puppies. They were staring at him, waiting. And suddenly, everything hit him all at once. The crazy chase through the city. The moment they fought back against the shadow creatures. The way they clung to him, trusted him, protected him. They weren't just random aliens. They were his family now. Ethan took a deep breath. Then he shook his head. No. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. No. Ethan folded his arms. I'm going home. A heavy silence filled the ship. Zap, Hover, and Melt tilted their heads. Ethan exhaled. Look, I appreciate the offer, but I'm just a regular guy. I don't need riches or power or some fancy alien life. I just need my crappy apartment, my terrible job, and a microwave that isn't melted. The Emperor was silent. Then he let out a deep, booming laugh. You who are unlike any human I have encountered. Ethan blinked. Oh, thanks. The Emperor raised a hand. The glowing portal vanished. Then the ship's controls lit up. Very well, human. You shall return into your world, and DESETHRE. He gestured to the puppies. What I'll remain under your care, and until they are ready to return. Ethan's stomach dropped. Wait, what? The Emperor's eyes glowed brighter. You have PRV and yourself worthy. You will be their guardian, their teacher, and should danger come again, you will fight for them. Ethan's jaw dropped. You want me to babysit them? For how long? The Emperor's voice boomed one last time. Until they are ready to ECLAMTE drone. Ethan stared in horror. Zap wagged his tail. Human. Fun. Hover floated around his head. Stay with human. Melt pounced into his lap, purring. Ethan let out a long, defeated sigh. Oh man, I'm so screwed. The return to Earth. The ship's engines roared as it descended back toward Earth. As the clouds rushed past, Ethan realized his life would never be normal again. His apartment was still wrecked. The government definitely wanted to arrest him. And now, he was officially the caretaker of 3 alien princes. As the ship touched down outside the city, Zap climbed onto his shoulder, wagging his tail. Ethan groaned. All right, but one rule. No melting anything this time. Melt blinked innocently. And then, his phone beeped. Ethan frowned and pulled it out. Another unknown message. It simply read, Atintilon, human. My alien kittens will arrive soon. Ethan's eyes went wide. Zap chirped. Kittens. Hover wiggled excitedly. More. Ethan buried his face in his hands. Oh, you have got to be kidding me.